All right, so we're on trying something new today. Got my buddy Logan. So we're just gonna shoot the shit, see what happens. Kind of want to start a podcast series again, but of course, it's just gonna be simple conversations.
Yep. I think it's fun because
Yeah.
we go on banters like this every day, all the time. And sometimes they're pretty entertaining, and maybe someone else might find that entertaining as well.
100%. So how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Just kind of coming out of the show situation, everything. Eating again a little bit, starting a new training split as of today.
Hell yeah.
Actually, right after this.
Oh.
And then so you and I are going to start training again, which has been like 6 months.
Yeah.
Went from every day to not at fucking all.
Well, dude, because when prep happened, the shit was like, we were both just like tunnel vision focused.
Yeah, we had to kind of zone in. We both agreed to, like, hey, like, we got to do our own thing a little bit. Yeah. It was a very soft breakup, but still love.
Yeah, still love. We had to break up for a little bit, but we got the boyfriend back. So
good to go.
Good. And we're trying a new type of training now, which is...
Yeah. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? Because you're more informed on it than I am.
Yes. So a lot of people aren't going to know what this is. It's called DC training or dog crap training. And what that means is it's like a version of like Dorian Yates HIIT. So you only have one working set. It's an absolute failure most times, which means heavier weight for as many reps as you can go. So it's a low volume training system. I thought it was weird at first, so I'm not gonna lie. Like when Tig first had me write it all down and stuff, I'm like, this looks ridiculous. But after like studying it and researching, I'm like, dude, this is actually game changing.
Cool.
Because you're not going to be in the gym as long, but you're so focused on just that one set per exercise.
Okay, I see.
So
I know for you, like when we would train together, we had to kind of find a happy medium because I'm a lot more volumetric, slow control kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Using the weight for me. You like to really reef it out and definitely that more 80s bodybuilder, golden era type training. So this will definitely be a huge change for me. And I read over the program. There's maybe 70% of it I understand. The last little bit you're gonna have to chime in on and teach me the ways.
It's different, but one thing that I've been noticing with training, because I mean I've been training for like 5-6 years. You've probably been training. How long have you been training?
I think it'll be 5 years in August.
Exactly. So me and you are kind of on the like reached a half a decade point. So me and you know exactly like what works and what doesn't work. But we're reaching a point now where we're going to be doing things that we don't necessarily like.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what like yields more results, I notice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think you can probably attest too. There's been points where like sometimes you don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. You'll go through a little phase of that. And that's when I like to go back to how I started or what I enjoy most in terms of training. Exactly. And just kind of get that pickup back and then start going into the meat and potatoes of everything.
Yeah.
And then start making some changes.
Well, and I think the biggest problem that I had that I think you noticed is that I would train with emotion, which isn't bad, but like it would be like 4 or 5 working sets. Like I didn't do the whole back off sets and all that. I would literally go as heavy as I can for each set and as many reps as I could.
Yep.
And it worked until like I talked to Tig and he was like, all right, man, we need to scale back a little bit.
Yep.
Because like I didn't realize I was overtraining.
Right.
Because like, you know, you get into it, you get in the motions and stuff and you just start ripping it. Next thing you know, you're in the gym for 2 hours.
Oh yeah. And like I know a lot of people too, if they're trying to find a gym partner or any of that, you and I clicked very quick and easy with that. Exactly. It's actually hard to find. You and I both have had multiple partners before that.
Yes.
And it doesn't work for long, or there's just too many things in the way that don't line up. 100%. And I think we had a solid 7-8 weeks till our coach said, hey, you guys need to chill.
Yeah, seriously.
We were doing too much.
And at that time, I was working an Amazon job.
Right.
So I was getting like 20,000 steps in, but I still would go in there. But what you were saying about the whole training partner thing, it's very hard to find people you click with and that actually like want results and actually want the work to be done. You don't really find that much.
No, and even with that too, it's like you might find someone that does train and work out hard. Like I've trained with people who are very motivated. It's just there also will be that kind of I don't know. It's almost like dating. Like it's almost like a little dating pool, and it doesn't work out. It's just the vibe isn't there or the connection isn't there. Because I mean, I think ultimately too, training with someone, it's slightly an intimate space.
It is.
So like that's why you'll notice. I mean, unfortunately, some of these like guy coaches that train strictly only women,
Yeah.
there's issues that come aboard with that, you know, attractions and stuff. And that's why I don't train women. It's like too intimate of a space. It can be a bro space or for yourself.
Exactly. One thing that, I mean, I've noticed that too. It's like, I think a lot of coaches in the industry probably are like that too, in a sense.
Mhm.
Like they know that if it's a guy working with a girl, they have to be very careful because, especially when you're in a bodybuilding prep for a show, everybody gets emotional. The emotions are higher, and when you're the person going through prep, your emotions aren't really regulated. So you might take things the wrong way. You might think, you know,
easily.
And then the coach, and Ty can attest to this, coaches become a therapist and a mentor, you know, along the way.
Yep.
And I think sometimes with a opposite gender dynamic, that might go the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Easily, yeah. And I mean, and that's something with like prep as well, is like, I think you and I, even, we never fight, but there was a couple, you know, we butted heads like over little stupid things. We're just dieted down. We're just not feeling it. We're in our own things, whatever. I know the 18 weeks into Pet Coast for me felt like a very easy prep. I was eating the most amount of food I ever had, doing the least amount of cardio I ever did, and the progress was coming faster than ever. You know, normally for me, my abs are the last thing to come in. And I'm talking like 4 weeks out. It's scary. It gets, you know, I mean, I had them, I think, at week 12 or so, which for me was a big, you know, change. And like that helped my confidence. And then with the extra food alone. Then right after that show, dropping all the calories, all the carbs, lowest fat I've ever had before, bumping the cardio up. I wasn't there. Mentally, it was almost too much for me. And then some more life changes came, and I actually ended up having to pull out my first show because of all that. It became too much. But then you look long run, everything we talked about, going towards like a national show next. You know, trying to go that route, trying to actually make it somewhere big with this. I think it's good to be ambitious. Also, talking about it can be, you know, wavery to some people. It can come off egotistical or cocky or anything. So having those right people that you can talk to about those things is very important as well.
100%. I will say, because like it's perfectly fine to have big ambitious goals. What I've noticed, you got to be careful who you say it to, and because ultimately it's a powerful thing. Like when you start just preaching these big goals out in public, it's because this thing takes a long time. I don't think most people understand how long it actually takes to like build a physique for that level of bodybuilding. And I think when you start projecting that out there, it puts an expectation on you in the public eye of people. And then people think it's just going to happen like that. They keep asking over and over. And then it just builds up super like weird pressure. But when you have a close circle of people, you can tell them pretty much anything.
And especially too, if they're in it as well. It's just that much better because then they have that understanding. You know, you and I talking about that, it's like, yes, you are here. You need to do these things. Realistically, it'll probably take this amount of time. Okay. Cool. Let's do it. You know, then you got other people say they want to start training, you know, and you have someone want to talk to you. They're like, well, I don't want to be as big as you though. Well, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. It's if you want to be at the, I mean, even like, I would even say even our physiques now, even if people tried, you know how much effort you have to put into getting a certain size? I mean, especially our goals, like
we're trying. We put life aside to look how we do now, and we're still just amateur level guys. And that's okay.
It is okay.
But it doesn't just come from some chicken, rice, and, you know, creatine for a year.
You know? No, 100. No, it's, and I think so far, because like I've only been competing now for like 2 years, but the training alone, like five years, like I said. And I think the one most important thing I've gotten out of this so far is the journey. Like I absolutely love it. And I don't know how long it's going to take for me and you to reach our goals, but I know that as long as we do the work, it's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of time, and I think when you look at it at that perspective, that might be a better outlook, if we're being honest.
I think so too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is good to have those dates down and kind of have a rough estimate or goal of what you're trying to hit. You know, I know you and I both have this year try to do this. You know, next year or 2026, 27, something like this. And whatnot. And, you know, these are in essence kind of long-term-ish goals, right? And knowing too that this is a sport that it's, you know, you do have the odds and ends people are in their 50s, you know, doing this, and they look insane. It's amazing. I hope we can do that.
Yeah, right.
But realistically, you know, and you can hear this from other people as well, around 35, your body starts kind of dropping off. You can't train the same. You can't eat the same. Maybe now you're lactose intolerant. Maybe now you're running into issues with diabetes, or you know, you can't take the carbs the same way.
Yeah.
So you start falling off a little bit just because of your own body. We get old. We're human. We're dying every minute. So that's why I always tell you how it's like, you're so young.
Yeah.
And I say young, I'm 27.
Right.
But I mean, knowing like, oh man, if I had that extra 5 years that I didn't get to have, where could I be? What could I do with it? But I wouldn't be doing this anyway.
Exactly.
So just appreciating where I'm at, that I get to do this.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of it comes down to, is the mentality of, I get to do this.
Right.
It's no one else's problem that I'm hungry.
Yep.
It's me doing this to myself.
Good.
And you support it, you like it, or you don't.
Yeah. and that's what I say too. It's like, I have had times too where like, I've had to kind of put bodybuilding aside, but kind of like scale back for a split second, check up on family, make sure everything's good, and then go right back at it. Because I would say, even not just bodybuilding, but any ambitious sport or endeavor is going to require a certain amount of focus if you're trying to be really good at it.
100%.
And I think, like I said, it's important to have people that support you. Like I said, you're 27, I'm 22, but the most important thing though is like maximizing what you can and what you do have, not what you don't have. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a big believer in, like, the way that I'm looking at it is, this is my younger 20s is like my time to really put on the size, really maximize that, and then see where I end up in my 30s. Because I think by the time I'm 30, I still probably would have like another 5-10 years at it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have slight timelines, but of course I'm not going to like make it a dead timeline. Like, I have certain timelines where I think I'd like to be, but at the same time, I just take it day by day.
Yep.
And that's really all that you can do.
No, and I agree, man. I think something is, I kind of want to like touch on this a little bit, how, and you know this, when you and I started training together, we very much like to be left alone.
Yes.
We're nice. We'll talk to people.
Yeah.
But it dramatically increased when we started training with each other.
Yeah.
I think it's because they saw us having fun, having a laugh, a good time, whatever, and maybe that was attractive or something, and they wanted to join in on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was the questions that we would get of like how to do things.
I know.
Like, I think, what would you say if you could go for what is the hardest thing that you've had to face doing this, and what is the number one thing you would recommend to somebody, like those people that would like come up and ask us things?
So like the hardest thing that I've been through so far with this?
Yes.
I would say, honestly, man, sacrifice. Sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? Like, I'm in my young 20s and I've only been to one party. And I've only been out a handful of times.
Yeah, you're not a drinker. You're not a partier.
I'm not a partier.
Since I met you,
my dating life isn't very, out there. But sacrifice, and like the saying goes, sacrifice without regrets. And so far, I don't regret anything, because I like living life minimally. And I'll say, what you need to do if you want to try to make progress out this, what I've done so far, is just make your life as simple and peaceful as possible. Like, if your life is in chaos and your relationships are screwed up, you got to fix that first. And what I'm realizing too is, like I said, sacrifice. Like, what am I willing to give up for the long term? Because short-term fun, short-term pleasures never last. They never will. And that's the biggest advice. What was the second question? Well,
and I want to touch on that. Isn't that what this is all about?
Yeah.
It's not that instant gratification.
No.
If that is who and how you are, this isn't it for you. At least right now.
Yeah.
So that's great. No, and then the other one was going to be, what's the like best piece of advice that you could give to someone?
Yeah, I think the best advice is just do everything with 100%, 110% effort, as you're never going to know what you're capable of doing. Like, my first year of getting into this, I did training and nutrition on my own, and I grew pretty decent. But then I hired a coach, and I realized it's not just hiring a coach. Like, that's an investment. So invest into this and give it your all. That's the advice I have.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that, man.
What about you, bro?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And you bring up good points. I'll caveat on this real quick too, is something that either I'll see a lot of is people switching coaches a lot.
Ooh.
And I've done it too. I've had 3 coaches now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, for me, it wasn't that it wasn't working with that coach and they thought they could get better somewhere else.
Right.
For me, it was more just trying different types of things. Hey, this person does a lot of this type of stuff. Let me try that. Okay, this person's more like this. Let me give that a shot. But then realizing that actually hurt me moving around so much, because then they just start to learn my body and then I'm off to someone else. Right. So I ended up taking, I'd say 10 months of just training myself.
Oh, wow.
And experimenting with different foods and everything and training styles, and learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for me to go into this new coach that I have now and say, hey, this works. Hey, I don't know about this. Hey, we got to play with this. This is a problem.
Yeah.
I need help with this kind of thing. Not moving because you don't see the progress. If you're not seeing the progress 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to be your coach, it's you. And you need to seriously self-reflect and reassess what you're doing and not doing.
That's good. I like that. That makes sense.
That's why I want to caveat on that, because I think that is also a very important thing to consider when you take that jump into, whether it's bodybuilding or whatever, that's going to implement a coach, to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, my biggest, however I worded that, regret or the hardest thing.
Yeah, the hardest thing
was I jumped into it for the wrong reasons.
Oh, okay.
I started for a very vain reason, trying to not be bullied as much, trying to not be looked down on and all these things. I figured, hey, if I get big, people will respect me.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the right approach. I know a lot of these younger guys too, they train because they think it's gonna help them get girls or whatever. It is not.
No, it doesn't.
You're gonna get a lot of bros.
Yes. You'll get more bros.
It's not gonna help you get girls. That's not at all how this works.
No.
But
not typically.
Yeah, it's just I had to finally have that switch. It was about a year and a half in where I realized, like, oh, you know what? This helps me a lot mentally. This helps me. This is instilling life values in me of dedication, being a driven individual, whatnot. So I actually ended up finding what I will say the right path, I suppose, in doing this, and humbling myself and doing this how I feel is correct. Yeah, in that regard. For the best piece of advice, I love how I ask these questions. Yeah. I don't even have them loaded.
You're good, bro.
Let's see. I think I'd have to kind of go along the lines of what you said with just giving it your all, because you can't go in there half-assed.
You can't.
You can't go through the motions. You see most of the gym population is the same year after year. And that would frustrate me.
Yeah.
That would be so terrible, being this far along and not seeing any changes. Dude. Or reverting nonstop and having to go back to where I was.
Yes.
I'd fall off.
Dude.
I wouldn't be able to keep doing this. So I think just sitting down for yourself and being, what am I doing here and why? Yeah. What am I trying to do? And you gotta just hunker down and do it.
I mean, I can touch. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, oh man, sorry, I blinked for a split second.
Dude, you're good. It's a Sunday. We're chilling.
Yes,
it is a nice day though.
It is a nice day though. But...
No, I mean we can change directions too.
No, you're good.
Let's see. Like, what would you say? Okay, you're starting your coaching business.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And you're taking an approach of, one day all of a sudden I see Zach with these like very well put together posts, not just how they're worded, but very nice, pictures and structures.
Right.
I'm not smart with this kind of stuff. Yeah. Like all the words and pictures and colors and everything you had going on, what had you start going that direction of things?
That's a good question. So I'm still coaching. I remember like when I first walked into the gym, my whole thing of going into the gym and my reason why was just because I love exerting myself physically. I always have. I used to run 5 to 8 miles every single day before I started lifting weights. Dang. So I love the mentally pushing myself on how far I could go. And then it kind of evolved. Like I was skinny and I wanted to be bigger. And I looked up on YouTube, went down the rabbit hole of Arnold, of course. Then I found guys like 90s and 2000s like Jay Cutler, like Kevin Lervone, Dorian Yates. And I remember that feeling of just like feeling so motivated just because I want to change myself. And that growth within the first 3 months, I just fell in love with the process. And then throughout the years, of course, I just keep consistently growing and growing. And I'm happy, not just because of like the physical appearance, but because of the mental that goes behind it and how much I've grown as a person. I'm still growing from it. And I want to help other people achieve that.
Nice.
Like, because I know this one small thing people think is weird and you're a meathead, it can absolutely change your life.
Yep.
And I remember so far I've had 2 coaches, and both of them have changed my life in many ways I can't explain because of their guidance, because I don't have to sit there and be like, is this right or wrong? And with their experience, they're like, listen, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to give you a plan. All you have to do is execute. And that's what I want to give to people. It's giving them an opportunity not to overthink anything and be like, hey, man, trust me. I've been on this road. I'm trying to expedite it for you. You just have to stick with it. And it's just a passion of giving back.
I like that.
As I'm growing in the sport as a person, I want to give back to the community. And that's my way of giving back.
Nice. Because
I don't want to go through this being selfish and just being it's all about Zach. I want it to be like, while I'm coming up, I want to bring people up with me. Even if they don't want to step on stage, even if they don't want to be a competitive bodybuilder, even if it's just changing their life. Because with my mom and my stepdad, I've helped them change their lifestyle.
I saw your mom's pictures the other day too, and that was a very short amount of time.
It was
in a complete different body.
And all she did was listen to me and did the work. And I will say people get into it for the wrong reasons. And I want to help guide people in going it for the right reasons. Because if you're doing this to impress others or get envy on other people, that is going to be such a short-lived thing. You're not going, because you're going to get to the point where you're starting to get success in it, but then you get to the point where like, why am I doing this? Like, you start to think like, am I really doing it for them or me? And then it kind of gets into that imposter syndrome thing, and then you start going on a rabbit hole.
Yep. I think what's tricky too is like, because I've been coaching a little bit longer than you have. I took a very different approach. I had people just come to me all the time, and I realized, you know what? I want to help these people not make all the mistakes I made. Because I started off as a Google, YouTube guy, following that stuff.
Right.
And I'm not going to list any of the people I would follow on there or anything, but there's a lot of bunk, a lot of things I did, and I kind of hurt myself a few times, whether it was my health or my actual physical body with following what these people's advice was.
Yeah.
And that like really set me back. And it was so frustrating that I'm like, not knowing what to do, spending hours and hours and days trying to research this stuff and having all these problems.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to finally, I was so nervous to ask one of the local pro coaches to take me on and what I wanted to do with it. And he did, and took me under his wing and really helped me, not just in that aspect, but he took it personal as well and helped me as a man as well. What is a man today? That's fallen off.
Yes.
It's very, and we can dive into that or not, but
we can.
He really follows that and leads by example. And I love that about this guy.
Right.
And then say, for instance, our new coach and everything, I think he should be a lot bigger than he is.
Yes.
In a sense of he should have way more clients. He should be way more popular.
Yep.
He's not rated how he should be.
No.
And it's such a saturated market.
It is.
With coaches. So that's why I've never promoted. I let people come to me and I completely just try to help them avoid all these mistakes. I made these mistakes. I learned from them. Let me help you avoid every single one of those possible. Right. And then with that as well, investing in myself, my own knowledge, which I can then return back to these people with J3 University and whatever other programs you're going to follow and try to learn and actual quality information.
I love that, man.
So it's fun. And honestly, that therapist side of the whole thing is sometimes weighs on you a little bit. The daily calls of some interesting questions or conversations that are just what's going on here. But then just understanding, hey, this is important.
Yeah. We've
been in prep. We've both hit our coach with weird stuff, man. Yeah. I think the last 4 weeks, I told him 10 times, I think I'm going to pull out. I was just what am I doing? And then I'll just completely an hour later, no, I'm just kidding. I'm better now.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Just joking.
Right. I even had that moment too. it was early in prep too. I mean, we were like
Mm.
12 weeks out, and I got to the point where I was even messaging you. I'm like, hey, I don't really feel this.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, do you remember
that? It wasn't very long. It was short lived, but
that?
I think it was just kind of like I was going through like a weird stressful point with like work or something. But
Yeah. Well, even now, I mean, because we trained all the way up till the start of prep.
Yeah.
So I saw you at your peak bulk,
Yep.
and seeing how you've grown now over, I think it's been 7 weeks for you now.
Yeah.
6.
It's been about a month. So
about a month.
About a month.
Even less.
Yeah.
Watching you just completely reform and shape differently, bigger and heavier and stronger than I've ever seen you, and you just saying, I don't see it.
Yeah. Yes.
And like, granted, you see yourself every day. I'm seeing you over the last few weeks because of my own prep, maybe once a week, a couple times a week.
Right.
But every single time I was like, what the heck are you doing? Which only made me more excited for my own off season, because I know I'm probably going to be following something similar to what you're doing, and to hopefully be able to expect those same results.
100%.
But that has to come with the work that you're putting in as well.
Yes.
That has to be done.
It's and then another thing too, I mean, this is kind of just another little bit more advice, is like, don't ever trust your own eyes with this stuff, because I mean, some people can, but that's experience. And my biggest thing is I try not to look at myself too much. Like, I know it's contradicting because my Instagram's full of physique shots and whatnot. But the number one thing is when I'm like home, I'm like at home, at work, just to stay off the pictures and just to be like, I just need to trust what's happening, because ultimately, if you have a good coach, he will let you know if you're not going the right direction. And so far, Tig has said we're going in the right direction, and you're saying it. So it's just trusting people around you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I look at myself and I don't see it, but that's very common, I think. And I think the number one thing is I haven't let it become destructive, but it's been a distraction sometimes. But it still hasn't stopped me from putting in the work, if that makes sense.
Cool, okay.
Like, every now and then it creeps in my head of like, am I actually growing? But then I just snap out of that. You know what I mean?
And that is so hard, because I think anyone in this can say, like, I've even talked to professionals that are 280 pounds, just massive monsters, and they say they still see themselves as their sub 180 pounds version of themselves. There's definitely levels of body dysmorphia, whatever you want to call it, that are worse than others. But I think ultimately we are always going to be our worst critics.
Yes.
And listening to those few people around you that are going to be honest with you, if they're saying good things, just absorb that.
Right.
And I remind myself that all the time. I let it slip.
Yeah. Right.
It's hard not to.
Exactly.
But dude, I think that the Instagram and the post, I want to like touch base on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I will like deactivate my Instagram at times in prep, because I don't want to see who's coming or get in my own head or worry about any of that stuff. And then the other side, like what you mentioned with the pictures, like, I know I post all these pictures of myself and I look this way. How people from the outside look at us posing in the mirrors and posting these pictures, and wow, that guy must be so self-absorbed in everything. I hate that.
Me too.
Are there people like that? Yes, of course. But just understand, we're just trying to look at what's happening. Right. We're proud of this change that happened and we want to post it. Yeah. It's not, hey, look at me where you don't look like this. That's not at all what it ever is. I know that's not the way you approach it. I know I don't take it that way. Yeah. Most people I know, that's not their goal. No. Do some people post pictures and they're a bit edited and look a little better than they do? Yeah. I think I've actually taken a few of my own pictures down because I realized I don't quite look like that in person. Oh. And I was like, I need to change that.
No, that's very true.
It's easy to have because you think, wow, I look so good in this picture. It's like, that is some very special lighting.
Yes. And that's another thing too, is I try to have an old school mindset with Instagram. I know I could be posting pictures that make my physique look better. I purposely post it when it's a little blurry. Like, I'll purposely put my Instagram pictures, like, besides the photography ones, but other than that, I purposely make sure it looks not bad, but you know what I mean? Like, nothing flashy. And even when I do photo shoots, I tell the people, I said, I want this as natural as possible. I do not want you to enhance it, because some photographers will literally enhance it. Yeah. And I tell them, no. I literally say, I want this as raw as possible.
Nice.
Because I don't want to also put out like a false. Because I hate when like on Instagram what I've seen is some bodybuilders that are competing look really good on Instagram, but then they go on stage and they look nothing like that. And I know the excuse is you missed peak, but it's some people it's obvious.
It is so dramatic to a point where it's like you are doctoring your photos to such an extreme.
And I don't believe in that. And I don't ever want to be that guy that's just an Instagram bodybuilder. Like I wholeheartedly want to be a bodybuilder on stage. I don't care how I look throughout the year. If I look fat, bloated or not, what matters is what you look like on stage and what you bring is what I'm noticing. That's exactly what we did last show. You know what I mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I can definitely agree.
I think, and another thing I was going to say is I think that this last show taught me, like, it really enlightened me on like what happens when you have a good coach and you have a good athlete. In my opinion, you know what I mean? Like a person, it goes 50-50. Like we both put in the work and then something crazy can happen. I don't know if you had any experiences like that.
I did. I mean, I had a different, what do you call that? Just a whole different prep in general, you know, a very different than I've ever experienced type of prep. There wasn't a whole lot of suck,
right?
You know, which was nice. And I think a lot of that has to actually be pointed to the coach because, you know, yeah, he could have made me cut way faster than we needed to. Could I have been a little bit tighter? Yes. But we were trying to find the middle point of fullness and conditioning.
Gotcha.
You can't have perfectly both, you know, or I mean, that 1% chance. Of course, that's the goal, you know, but we expected to be doing 2 more shows. So we said, hey, let's just find that middle point, see how we're looking, what needs to happen. And I know for me, it was, I got to actually stand next to someone on stage that was a very quality bodybuilder and seeing how I stack up with that and where I really need to work.
Okay.
And it kind of got to the point in my head where I just wanted to work on those instead of continue to cut and, you know, come in tighter when realistically I need more size. So I just wanted to kind of take that time off at this point now and grow and move into the next. So that next time, it's hopefully going to be a different version. It's going to be a different story.
Yeah.
You know, so.
No, that makes sense. And I think that's kind of important to point out too. It's like another thing too, that's I think, because I can't speak like when I say amateurs, I know we're an amateur, but I think for another thing that I've observed so far is that you can only compete so much in a year before you're not making any progress. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think some people might get caught up in just trying to win just the trophy, when I think this prep too taught me, like, it's not really about that as an amateur if you're trying to go into the pro ranks. It's really about coming in better each time regardless of placing, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, you still want to do the best you can, but if you don't have a national ready physique, then I think we kind of have to look at it differently.
I think you're right. No, I do think you're right. And I think the preps are also handled differently. Going into like a national rank, you know, show or however you want to word that. Like, I know for me, the very first thing I do when I get my stage shots is I compare them to my most recent show before that.
Smart.
And I literally just put myself next to myself. And I don't even think about why, but because ultimately it is just us versus us. And that's what it needs to be. Right. I can't be sitting there, oh, I know this guy is going to be there. I need to make sure that whatever. Some people that works, that helps, you know, cool. So many different mentalities jumping into shows. You know, you'll hear, I think it was Justin Shire even posted how this entire prep he's been telling himself he's going to win. And I think to an extent, like, you do need to have that. That mentality. You can't go into it just like, oh, you know, you would have fun and
see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
You know, sure, yeah, you can do that. I did that my first 3 shows. You know, I was 180 pounds. 6'3", bro. Tiny. I was not going to win, and I knew that. But I wanted to see if I liked it. Right. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. These last 2 shows I did was, no, I need to hunker down. I need to be the best of posing I can possibly be. I need to be the fullest and tightest I can possibly be. I need to show up the absolute best I can. How do I do this? What do I need to do?
Right.
Just taking that day by day. But also that's where, like, my situation, being completely honest with myself of, okay, I need more size. I need to make this happen. There's no point trying again right now.
I get you.
So yeah,
no, that makes sense. And like, yeah, no, that's a good point. Because I think sometimes, a obviously, yeah, like with this last show I did come in with the mentality that I do want to win. But at the same time, I still reminded myself and not humbled, but reminded myself, like, even if we don't, we still gave it everything I had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and it goes back to putting in 100%. Like, a lot of people, I used to be a victim of this, of like asking people what my potential is. But I'm noticing it doesn't matter what your potential, what your potential could be.
Yeah.
Because
you can have your pro potential. I can sit here all day and tell you can go on the Olympia stage and be top 5. You have the shape and the drive for it.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're going to end up, taking a whole different route in life, or just starting to not like this anymore, or you just kind of just start screwing off.
And I think that's another thing too. It's like, you can have the world's best potential, but it's not going to matter. You're never going to know until you actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of the journey that I'm learning. It's like, you're only going to find out how good you can be if you actually just put 100%. Because like, going into this prep, there were some things where some people saying that they wanted to try prepping, wanted to try it, wanted to see what would happen. But I kind of told them, like, well, listen, like, I think you need to approach it a little bit differently. And this isn't talking down, but I think investing in a coach and doing it 100% the first time, instead of literally just going to step on and you're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think some people in our community, in our gym community, have even kind of pointed out, like, if you're going to do a bodybuilding competition, you should, it's kind of doing a disservice if you don't bring 100%.
Yeah, and this might be controversial, and yeah. I mean, people that don't know me can very easily think I'm a dick, but I say often the things that people are thinking but won't say, right?
I love it.
And they're not going to like the things I say. So like, and this is so low, like, on the list of things, but someone will take this wrong. Mm-hmm. How I almost think it's disrespectful to the sport to show up above 20% body fat.
Yes.
Do you see it? Yeah, I think at least one at every show.
Yep.
And you never know someone's journey. You never know where someone came from. They could have lost 300 pounds for all you know. Yep. In between, skin surgeries and whatnot. And that's amazing. That is so cool that you did that. That honestly, I think, is worth even more than someone putting on 20, 30 pounds looking sick and going up there.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, what is this?
Yes.
Right? I think you should show up. There's a certain look that I think you should have.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can look at yourself and know that you're not there, I don't think you should go up yet.
No, and I think a lot of people look at it as a weight loss competition instead of a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong. If you lost like 100 pounds, that is great and good for you. And that's fantastic, and I agree with you. However, there are competitions that are weight loss competitions where you can still step on stage. They do have those. I don't know how popular they are, but they are making, they're getting more popular online and stuff. But when it comes to like a bodybuilding competition, that's like weight loss times 10. Like, it's where you're putting in the full amount of work and coming in as shredded, most conditioned, as big as you can.
Yep.
And it's so hard, as I think what I've noticed is, like, when there's only like 2 good guys and the rest of the lineup, it's not even comparable. I think it's like, for people trying to go to nationals, it's kind of hard to like really see how, like, what changes you really need to make when, you can still compare yourself to yourself, but it's still nice to go to a show, an amateur show that has a national level competitor, so you can stand right next to him and see how you hold up.
Yep. And
I think that, there's a few shows that are like that. And I was talking to Ty, and I think we're going to start doing those instead of the other ones.
Yeah, and I think that'll be better for you too, like going up and standing against like local level, stuff, which granted is right now where I fit, being completely honest. I'm not meant to be going to Emerald Cup by any means. I'm not there. And that's okay to be honest about it. I think you should be. But at your level and where you're at, striving for that is going to be best for you.
That makes sense.
And it.
Yeah.
But going for that, right? Like, I know that's kind of similar where I'm going. I'm not even going to look at doing another show until I'm at a point of, okay, like, I'm going to be at my weight cap.
Yes.
Last year I stepped on stage 30 pounds underweight. This year I stepped on stage 16 pounds underweight. When we're talking stage weight, that is a lot.
It is. No, for bodybuilding, that is a lot. Like,
and granted, I was able to show up whatever that is, 16 pounds heavier in 1 year of stage weight. Wow, awesome. Great. That's amazing. I think it's like 4 pounds a year realistically.
Yeah.
Like, how did I manage that? That's so cool. Like, I was proud of that. I was happy about that. it's still not where I need to be.
And that's another thing too that I learned very, very quickly, that when you're talking about stage weight, that's muscle weight. That it's not just weight, like, because
that is the end all. You got your water, you know.
Yes.
Are you still holding any? Are you spilled? Did you have too much to eat?
Yeah.
Are you loading too much, too little? Like that's the finite small amounts that are really adding up to create that look.
And that makes sense. And I think the route that I want to take, even if it means it drags out my journey longer, I'm going to start going to like shows like E-Cup, just so, because I am a bit younger and I have a little more time on my side. I think once a year or once every year and a half, going to those shows and standing against those guys, even if I place last or something, I still would really like to see how I stack up, because, and that's just me being 100% real and dropping my ego, because I do know that if I want to get to those higher level places, I need to start being around those people and competing against them.
Yeah, you know, and we don't have a lot of those people around. You know, our gym. Sorry, it's Zen time, bro.
Oh yeah, Zen time. What flavor you got, bro?
I just got the spearmint today, man.
Oh, I got that peppermint.
My local market's been running low.
Dude, they're running low everywhere.
The last like 2 times I went there, they didn't even have any 6s.
Zenflation.
I know. Yes.
Zenflation, bro.
Like, so the show that I was just at, getting to stand against someone who has competed at nationals, and I got to talk backstage to him like what that was like. Yeah. And it's just, you know, entirely different from what it sounds. Entirely different type thing, you know. And it's like, you know, I could see myself, you know, once I can get to that point, going into one of those national shows, and like you said, like being last or something, but getting to see where I'm at, what I need. Do I even have the right shape? Like, am I in the right class? Right. You know, like that was something I was kind of battling this year was, am I in the right class even?
Man.
You know, so for me, it's like classic, right? I think the best classic guys I see are, you know, 6'1", 6'2". Okay. Right? I think that's kind of the proper height to be for that class. Yeah. And, you know, a tight V-taper to the waist, vacuum, you know, like the whole bit, the whole works. You know exactly, when you think of a classic guy, you're usually, okay, C-bomb, whatever. It's a look.
It is a look.
Right? Me being in, say, your class, open bodybuilding, no way. Ain't no way. I don't have the size. I think I'm too tall. I don't think you can be that tall and be a good level pro open bodybuilder. Right. You know, honestly. But then you have men's physique, right? And that's where I start to kind of falter is I love the beauty of classic posing, the routine, the shape, which I personally think I carry. But I also know I could step down or whatever into men's physique. I just don't enjoy it. Right. Sitting there thinking to myself, oh, dude, like if I won the overall at this show, men's physique, I'm just going to want to go eat and like, cool, that was fun. Right. You know, winning overall at classic or whatever, like I'm going to be trying to like hide my emotions because it's going to mean so much. Right. And I think for me, that's where it's like, you know, maybe that's going to be detrimental to me, not taking it, you know, to the level I can in the class I should or something. But see what you're saying. It means more if I can do it that way, and I'd rather go that route.
And it's still a sacrifice, you know? So right. And I think like what we talked about too, sometimes, or like most of the times with bodybuilding, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's not going to go the way we want to, but I feel like it needs to be that way. Because like, I've wanted to do open bodybuilding since I first started. I was never into like classic or men's physique. There's nothing wrong with that, but I like having big and ambitious, a bigger mountain to climb. Yeah. And I'm not saying people do other classes to take the easy way out by any means. That's not the case. But I think, like even for you, like you know that you could probably do men's physique and then do a bit better, but you want that challenge because being better in classic would mean more to you. Right. And I think that's where we both kind of stand in that sense.
Yeah, you know. And I think both of us are very much the type of people of we don't settle for easy. No. You know, and like for me especially, like, dude, pain means growth. Yeah. And that can be in life, that can be in the gym, like whatever, literally it is so the case every time. There's never been something I've done that has been painful that I haven't grown from in some substantial way.
100%.
So like you said, like I know that's said all over the place, is find comfort in discomfort.
Yeah.
Be comfortable getting uncomfortable.
Right.
And that is very real. And that's where the life things come from. When I told you earlier, like, the life values I've learned just from this. I don't sound so, you learned about life in the gym. No, I learned about myself.
It's true.
It's very
true. And you do.
So
it's taught me, because I got into it, like training and whatnot, when I was like towards the end of 17. And I'll tell you one thing, I almost went to the military. I don't know if you know that, but I always done that track of like, my parents were like, I think the best chance for you would be the military, because I tried college, it didn't work. Like I couldn't do it. And I just got by in high school and I did enough to graduate. And I was really thinking, I'm like, man, like I'm kind of running out of options. I think the military might be the route to go. So instead of going in the military, I just took that mindset that they build in the military and put it towards this. So this, in a sense, bodybuilding to me, and I know I'm so early in my journey, but it's like my college / military. It's like it set me up, because now that I have my own place now too, and I got my own apartment and stuff and my own job, it's like, no matter what happens, I'm going to figure it out. Yep. Because I did that with bodybuilding. Like, no matter what happened and what happened in my life, I still made it work.
Yep.
And then I just take that with everything else in my life. And, there might be times where I'm unsure, but we're going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And
I forgot about that. You and I both had like pretty busy preps.
Yeah.
Actually, like you were literally in the middle of moving. Yep. I moved as well. Mm-hmm. I tore my patellar tendon. I was in the hospital for a week.
Yeah.
I was in between jobs. Like there's a bunch of other things.
Exactly.
You had to deal with getting out here. You had some things going on. That's for you to say. But
yeah,
it was like we still hunkered down and did it though.
100%.
And I think that made it very worth it.
And that's part of the journey I love, is like, even though, like I said, these are amateur shows, there's so much that happens in these preps that people don't realize. It's like, I don't think every prep's going to be perfect. And I kind of like it when, what I'm realizing is I kind of like it when there's a little bit of struggle, because it's like, okay, it's kind of testing me now. It's like, like even during moving here, I still ate all my meals that day. The week of moving in here, I still stayed on track. I'm like, I know for sure now, no matter how busy things get, I can still make it work.
Yep.
And that's what made me really happy. And that's why this prep was kind of an eye-opener in life, because this year I've made so much progress even outside of the gym. And now that, like I said, I'm moved out of my parents into here, and I'm still able to bodybuild and still able to hold a job. Like, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
That's a win.
That's a huge one, dude.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to actually that question I asked you that you asked back to me.
Mm-hmm.
My first prep, I was so immersed in what I was doing that I physically and mentally could not do anything else. Right. I shut out everything in life just for the prep.
Right.
Do I regret it? No, but it wasn't okay.
Right.
I had a 2-week-old baby when I started prep.
Oh.
I left a 6-figure job because I couldn't work the 15-hour shifts, and they weren't wanting to give me the time for the show. It was starting to affect my performance in the gym, and even my coach was like, hey, like, this is getting a little tight here, right? Yeah. So I just up and left the job, left somewhere for half the amount of money, if not more.
Yeah.
Left, the kid home and not really there, plus because all the work I was doing and everything. And my family ignored them for months. Like, my friends ignored them for months. I just so secluded to myself in just that world that it was detrimental in more ways than it helped.
Right.
So, like, each prep, learning how to do more life on top of the prep is good. And just don't give up your whole being and everything for it.
Right.
Find some way you can balance it to some point.
Exactly.
You're going to have to make sacrifices. There's going to be things you're going to have to pull out and not do.
Right.
While you're doing this. But you got to try.
And that's another thing too. It's like being excellent, or there's a saying that's like being excellent in all areas of life, and learning how to like still do good with this, but then also be good here. And I think that's another challenge, because it's like, at the end of the day, you don't want to neglect necessarily everything, if that makes sense. I know some people are extremists on that, thinking you have to sacrifice everything. But something I've learned is like, you can still have everything, do everything you want. Now, there might be seasons where you need to put more focus here than there. But I still think there's times where you can still include both.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about like, you know, the Olympians, like the world champions, maybe they need to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not quite at that level.
No.
And being an amateur, I mean, I think some people have had experiences where they messed up their whole life and they didn't really get much, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think something I've noticed is like even the best people at one point during the amateur phase, they still took it serious, but they still made everything fit, made everything work, and still had that good support. So I think I hate the word balance, but I think they just learned how to balance it themselves within their realm of things.
And I think that's such a task because there is a point where you're not going to be able to do this if you are proficient in other areas as well.
Exactly.
So like, what do you do? Where do you go with that? I think that's where it'd be kind of cool if like, I'm sure some pro somewhere has talked about what they have to do with life during the prep. It'd be cool to kind of hear that and find out. But yeah, man, that's definitely a tricky one. It's still being played with.
It is, and I do talk to my family though. Like I'll have phone calls and stuff, and I'll see them. I've been seeing them more recently too, and I always explain that like I'm not purposely trying to ignore them or do any of that. I'm just like I said, I'm working on this bodybuilding thing as well as my career outside, like having a job, growing in all areas of life, and it still requires a lot of focus, especially being young and setting up my life. So I just explain to them like, you know, I'm not intentionally dissing people or distancing myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes like this prep, I just really hunkered down in it, especially with work. But now I'm at a point where I'm in the off season and I'm a little more like relaxed. I have food in me. I have my body weight's going up. I feel good. I got the body fat coming back up, energized.
Can think,
and I don't just react emotionally. And so definitely in a good spot. But I think it still is important no matter what. Like whatever you do in life is still make sure you don't neglect the people that care about you. And because it's sad, man. Like, you know, when you have that support and then, you know, you just neglect it because you kind of take it for granted for a second.
Right.
I definitely learned that that's nothing. You don't want to take that lightly.
No.
You don't.
No. And that was, you know, always a battle of mine is like, you know, my parents even is like, you know, hey, like, you know, I'd go like a month without talking to them or something. It's like, hey, man, I get you're in prep and everything, but like, what's up?
Right. Like, what's going on?
I was like, oh, shoot, I'm trying. I guess I just forgot. I don't know. You just get so like sucked in.
Oh, I know.
Or like even like I'd go weeks not even texting you, and normally we'd talk all day and see each other probably like every day.
Every day, pretty much, yeah.
It was like, oh, I'll see you at posing on Sunday.
Yeah, that's it.
Have a good week.
No, and oh man, that's a good. That was a good topic. Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, dude. And I know like, you know, starting with all this, you know, I think ultimately you're going with like a bodybuilding podcast and everything.
Yeah.
And, like that's cool. And we can talk about that all day. We do.
Yeah.
But I think people also don't realize like the BS we get on like crazy, you know.
Stupid shit.
But that's such another good point that I bring up our friendship often to other people, how you need to have friends that you can talk about finances, life, goals, things together, not what so-and-so's doing. Right. Back at wherever,
I know,
and who's seeing who and this and that, the other. Like that, I don't like that. No. I don't want the gossip. I don't want to talk about that drama, the BS. It's just not healthy.
No, it's not.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
Would you say that to that person's face? If I haven't yet said that to someone already, or I would not care if they were in the room, I'm not gonna say it.
No, exactly.
And like that's something like I think you got to have around you.
You do.
But yeah, we can always on something else go into like all of our, you know, BS that we talk about. It's my thing too. I'm trying not to swear so much.
Well, we should point the video now where you can technically get away with swearing.
That's right. Yeah, if they're this far, it's like whatever.
Obviously, we want to keep it still family friendly, even though it's probably not. No, because
family friendly. All right, so let's talk about steroids.
Right. No, but like, all right, what was I gonna say?
Threw you off with that one, but
yeah, right.
You're welcome. I'll grab my water real quick.
No, but it's good to take life seriously, but obviously we don't want to take it too seriously.
Yeah.
You still want to have your fun.
You got to.
I mean, now that it's summertime, it's already almost July, bro.
I know.
I want to talk about that.
That went fast, dude. Oh my god!
Imagine if we were still prepping though. The whole summer would go by so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think because the next show that I kind of want to do, honestly, is next year's Battle at the Eagle, and that's going to be a summer prep.
Yeah,
cool.
That will be.
I'm going to like how I look during the summer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to go to the lake.
Dude, I mean, technically you could,
but
it throws everything off.
I'm going to have to come back in every hour and a half and grab my meal or.
No, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, you're right, because like in prep you could still do that, but that's what I believe the off season's for. Like, obviously we treat it like a prep still, but you're not stressing because you're not at that low of body fat.
That was a big talk we had actually recently, was that we were serious with our prep last year, or our bulk. Like, we definitely did as much as we could on plan, all of our training, but like, we went out on, bro dates and ate some Italian and whatever. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But really that talk we had about treating this we're still in prep.
Yeah, we're still in prep. Exactly.
Are we growing and going into a growth phase? Yes. But that doesn't mean it's time to screw off and drink and do whatever. Like, that's not acceptable.
No, it's not. And that's another thing too, is like last summer, we did end up having a little too much fun with some things.
Sometimes.
And it wasn't bad though. Like, still compared to other people, that wasn't bad at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all. And I will say
but for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but we're trying to go to a level that is just a higher level, and that requires, like I said, more sacrifice, more focus. We can still have fun, of course, but I don't believe that we need to drink to have fun.
No, it's not.
No, because it's not conducive to our goals. Because drinking actually, you want to get scientific.
Yeah, that really hinders protein synthesis.
Even one drink technically could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine, doesn't it stop 48 hours or something like that?
I think it is a window of something, and this is going to have to be cited, but
yeah.
I think it's some sort of 30 or 40 hour window of where that falls. But we would see people at the gym go out to grab a Diet Coke at our friend who has a bar, and see those same people that were just at the gym 4 drinks in. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then they hit you up 6 months later. Hey man, I haven't made any progress. Or let's talk about how Friday night, Saturday morning, no one's at the gym.
No, not at all.
Monday, packed jam full. I go later than normal on Mondays to avoid the crowd.
100%.
It's funny how that happens.
It is funny how that happens. Or another thing that, this is going to lead into a good topic. Something that pisses me off, bro.
Here we go.
At the gym, okay? Listen, I'm a nice guy.
Let's get into it.
I love it, man. But if you want to know what goes in my head when the gym's busy, if you're on a fucking machine and you're on your phone and you haven't even done one set and it's been 5 minutes, I mean, really, come on, bro.
You know what I say? How many texts you got left?
Dude, that's smart. See, I need to get more.
And they go, I got 3 sets. I'm like, no, I didn't ask how many sets you have. Right? And that throws them off.
And I don't want to.
It's rude. But
it's being real. No,
but it's also rude what's going on. Hey, man, you got 5 people over here trying to get on this.
Yes.
Right? And we don't really go to a packed gym.
No.
We can get everything we need to do.
Yes.
The owner of that gym's done a great job with the equipment. And
Jerry's the man.
Yeah, he is. But there's gyms that we've been to in other places that are just good luck. Or what if we went to one of those gyms that are crazy busy in California or Texas or whatever? It ain't happening.
No, and that's another thing too. It's I get it. Not everybody's trying to be a bodybuilder, but at the same time, when I'm in the gym, I'm very focused, and I like talking to people, but I like to save it for afterwards.
Right.
And it's just frustrating.
Dude, I was sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
man.
you're good.
If we're gonna talk about what pisses us off, we shouldn't have to literally change the way we look or go about things to avoid conversation, or to avoid getting our workouts kind of ruined over conversation.
That's very true.
You should be able to look at someone, see them working hard, doing what they're there to do.
Exactly.
Even though if you're there for social hour, that's fine, dude. That's what gets a lot of people there.
Yes.
Cool, that's fine, man. But I make a point to go and talk to those people that I know that are going to talk to me before or after my lift. And that's fine. I want to talk to these people. They're great guys and whatever.
Yeah.
But when I literally have weights in my hand please leave me alone.
Yes. No, seriously, bro.
Like I can't make it obvious enough. I got my headphones on. My head is down. I'm, getting ready for something. And then they come up and tap me. Hey man, when'd you get here?
Yeah.
Buddy, I'll talk to you in a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm a nice guy. I don't say that.
Yeah.
Usually
right.
I'll converse, and then next thing I know, it's 2-3 minutes in, I'm starting to lose everything I had going for me. And it's like, hey, I gotta get back to it. It's so hard to make that apparent. And I wish it could be trying to be respectful about it. Hey, don't talk to me. But at the same time, like, I want to talk to you.
Right.
It's a very
it's a very
frustrating
slope because, like I said, like I when I first started training, it was a corporate gym. Like for us, it's corporate here in the area. I'm not going to name names, but that those gyms were definitely social hours.
Physique.
Physique. Yeah, no, we started at physique. Okay, and nothing wrong with that, but like when I went to the gym, like Flex at first before Kamikaze, like that was the spot. And then,
well, you could have that there, though, is the thing.
Yes.
Like I remember going back to Flex when it was Salem Fitness. I was probably like 14, 15.
Oh, damn.
And one of my good friends was trying to get me into the gym. I had that mentality of most young guys. Yes. All right, I'm going to go for a month. I'm going to get jacked. And nothing happened. I'm taking the Vita packs. I don't know if you remember those, but it was these BS packs you buy with like 20 vitamins in them. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
And then the different supplements that were around then or whatever. But no, that was very short lived.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, dude.
But it's a cool old school style gym. I mean, I love the old weights. I love that things are kind of like, I don't want to say haggard, but like it's rough. But it's cool. It is. Like, I like it.
It's old school.
There's this gym out in State that I've been going to a little bit that's kind of similar vibe. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
But no, the Kamikaze gym is like, it's very well set up for everything we need.
Yeah.
And good energy, good vibes. It's really not a lot of drama. Good workers, good environment.
And it's only getting better.
Yep.
Because I think they're planning on doing more stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
like how many gyms do you know that in the first year of being open or just after completely redoing the entire dumbbell section with custom stainless fatter grip dumbbells and easy bars? Well, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of
but you can tell the passion behind it. Like Jerry, he puts in his heart and soul into it. And you walk in there and you just know it's so different. Like and that's what I love about it too. And it's like it's just the vibe for me. Like I'm a very big vibe person when it comes to gyms. Like I love going into a gym where I'm like, okay, we can do work here and not feel bad about being, like I said, quote unquote meathead. Like you could, if you wanted to, you could technically grunt and not really have any issues.
Yeah.
Like those are the good gyms to be at. And then
and I think that should be okay.
It should be
insane to me. Like back in the day when like I started at Physique as well, and I switched to Planet because just some of the individuals there, it was just rough. It was just not fun to be around. Yeah. But literally getting told I had to leave my bottle like at the counter, or I had to take my belt off one time squatting.
What?
Because it made someone uncomfortable. It was just, I switched to Flex shortly after that.
Yeah.
And I was so glad I did. I never would have made it anywhere being there.
Well, the non-judgy gyms are the most judgy gyms because they tell you like, here's all these rules on what not to do. And then it's like, you're literally judging people for like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
You know what the rules should be?
What?
Put your weights back.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. On that though, I can't remember what gym I went to, but every machine had a plate on it. It was already preset.
Yeah.
I will say, and this might be controversial, I think every machine should have a plate on it to begin with. Not emptied. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't know, man.
I'll still put my weights away, but I wish that was the case.
I don't like that because most people that leave weights are really inconsiderate because they're the kind of people too that will leave dumbbells out in the open.
That's fair.
I mean, preloaded, it doesn't really do anything because for me, even if it's just one plate, we're still going to put more plates on. So you may as well just put the first plate on anyway.
Yeah, all right. Maybe that's me being lazy.
It is. Yeah, you're definitely lazy shit. But
I'm taking out half the workout there.
Because for me, it's like a ritual. Like I like to go to a machine that's like no weights, and then I'm like, I'll purposely start pushing the machine without any weights, just to like envision what that's going to feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I go up by one plate. And let's just leg press. We start with 5 plates on leg presses.
There we go.
But I like to slowly get into it and then get to the top set. And then I honestly, taking it off allows me to kind of like prepare for the next exercise.
Okay.
So it gives me time to take all the weights off. About okay, this is my time to recuperate. Instead of just standing there and then put it away, I'm like, no, my downtime now is putting the weights up. So I still technically have the pump and still get the things flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I'm ready for the next machine or exercise, I'm ready to go.
That's fair.
That's my thing.
And I can definitely, see your point on that. Like, say it's like a leg press or hack squat, or like even yesterday doing back, I was doing that seated row machine, right?
Exactly.
Which, by the way, I think last time I was with you, I think I only did 6 plates. I had 8 on that bitch.
Let's go.
I felt good about that.
Yes.
Granted, yes, I had to use my straps, but that's okay.
Straps on.
Still did it.
Who gives a shit?
But yeah, no, you are taking them off, and you're a little fried, and you're shaking, getting them off, and but it does feel good. It's like, damn, this is.
But I have to make sure there's a mirror there so I can see myself, because I like to see the arm veins kind of go.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I'm just not starting to get them. I'm not huge.
Shut up.
Right? No, seriously though, like, another quick question. When I know you don't deadlift much, but would you rather deadlift with a mirror or without a mirror? And that goes with squats too.
I'm gonna say without, because before my 3rd deadlift injury, I don't deadlift now because of the amount of injuries I've had. But when it was at Flex on their platform in the hallway.
Okay.
And I did enjoy that most because I think it's just how I cued myself. I knew I had to look up at the certain tile to get my back into position, and it was just kind of like part of my ritual of how I set up.
Okay.
I did deadlift a couple times in the downstairs, what do they call it, the cave, right?
Yeah.
And in the mirror, I feel like certain lifts I get distracted seeing myself.
Okay.
And I don't like that. I'm more so focusing on how I'm looking from this point of view, when actually what's important is how I look from this point of view.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
So I would say without. Also, I'm forced to get in my head. And I like lifts like that because I put myself in a place mentally, like I have to pick this up. There's a car on my daughter or whatever. Just, weird things like that to make it happen.
No, for sure, bro.
But it makes it fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we're all a little crazy that do this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Some people might be like, well, you do what?
You do what?
But to me, or, most people, I guess, that do this, it's like, I think about so-and-so, whatever.
If someone's holding a gun to your head, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I like to pretend that someone's like, there's 2 guys on each side, like the Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
And they're in black suits with sunglasses, and they're holding a gun to my head,
no,
both
you
sides.
Don't.
And then if I fail, I'm a bitch, and they pull the trigger. I put myself in some weird situations.
Not bad. I like that.
It helps because I don't have a kid, so I can't think of anyone trying to injure a kid that I don't have.
That's true.
So I got to be a little creative.
Yeah.
Or if I don't make the lift, then someone's gonna hurt like my mom or something.
Oh, okay.
Though, especially on squats, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like when I'm doing like the high rep stuff, I have to get every last rep, otherwise someone's gonna die.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get with that, man. I know for me, like pressing movements, it's like in your dreams how you can't fight.
Yes.
Your punches are slow, right? Well, it's the same concept when you're benching. You're punching, but it's slow. But I'll think of just that one motherfucker like up there, right? I'm like, I need to hit this guy as hard and fast as I can.
Yes.
And like that will work sometimes.
No, seriously.
That's that first 315 bench that I got. It was one of those situations.
There you go.
Right? Just think about that right person. And
you got to do what you got to do.
I'm not crazy.
No, we're not. We're completely normal. We're not crazy. We're not violent people whatsoever.
Which we're actually not, but
no, what the weights?
Yes,
I like to murder the weights.
Can be.
I mean, and that's another thing too. Like, if I didn't have the gym, like I don't have. I know you know me. I'm not an angry guy, but believe it or not, before bodybuilding, and I didn't know how to control like emotions. I definitely was a little emotional on the side with anger.
Yeah.
But once I started going to the gym, it literally just leaves it all there. And it's cool because you get to grow from it quite literally.
Yep.
So
literally. Yep. I think it's funny how, and it's just one example, just like one that like sticks with me right now. There's this group of these 2 younger kids that are probably like 16 or so.
Yeah.
And they kept talking to each other, looking at me. And they just wanted to use the machine that I was using, whatever. So one of them came up and asked me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, man, no, like I got one more, but you guys can work in or whatever." And like if you know me, like I'm talkative, I'm nice, I'm not, but I guess to some public eye, I look pissy maybe or something, whatever. I don't know. But he turns around and looks at his friend. He's like, "See, I told you." You know, I'm like, what? He's like, "Oh, he was scared of you, man. He thought you were like," I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, no.
That's
The
thing,
biggest
too.
guys you can meet are usually the nicest.
They are, and I've gotten that too, and like I've even had that experience with other people. Like when I've met like dudes that were huge, I used to think they were assholes until I actually went up and shook their hand and was like, "Hey man, like I see you here all the time. Like, kind of just wanted to, you know, get the name with the face type of thing."
Yeah.
And they're the most down to earth people you ever meet.
And dude, do that, man. I remember, gosh, like, you know, even like at Physique and stuff, or those few times at Flex, I'd go up to these people that are intimidating or bigger and whatnot, and they want to help.
They do.
Granted, ask at the right time.
Yeah.
When they're getting ready for a set, don't go talk to them.
No.
That's rude.
Right.
I was just talking about this.
Yes, exactly.
But no, like, you know, go and do that, and they will want to help with something.
We all want to. Like, I love helping people that are just starting out. Now it does get to a point when you tell them the same thing and they're still not changing. That gets frustrating.
Sure, but that's when it's on you to realize, hey, this person's not going to take anything I tell them. No. Don't waste the time,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the things too, when I first really started like growing my physique, people used to be like in the physique days, people used to come up to me all the freaking time, like, "What are you doing, bro? How are you getting big? I always see you changing." And I'll literally say the same thing every time. I'll show them my diet and I'll show them my training, and they don't believe it. And that pisses me off, man. I still get that. Like, people are like, "Bro, like, what do you do? Like, what do you, like, what's the secret?" And I'm like, there is no fucking secret.
Literally got that Arco yesterday. I was filling up, and I got out of my car to wash my windshield with the little scrubber thing. And the guy's asking, you know, he was different language, so I was trying to hear around him, but he kept saying, what products do I use? I was like, oh, like so and so. I was like, oh yeah, dude, you know, creatine, you know, carnitine, you know, some of this stuff. And then looks at me and goes, "What else?" Yeah. I was like, "Hey man,
no, we're not gonna go down that road."
Like, that's no, dude. Like,
and I know, and it's a lot of people want an answer that they want.
Right. And they want that quick, you know, magic pill, you know, things like that. Yeah. Like, I feel like the whole like Ozempic thing coming out right now. You know, I mean, granted, I'm not super educated on it, so like I might be going off on a completely wrong tangent here, but I feel like that's an attempt of a magic pill.
It is.
So to forcibly make someone not hungry to lose the weight.
I don't believe in that.
I think you need to do that yourself.
I think another thing too is taking the easy way out, and instead of doing the hard shit. Like, I don't believe in taking the easy way out. Like, when you're hungry, you need to understand what hungry feels like. When you're trying to bulk, you need to understand what that feels like. And you need to be very thankful that you can do that to yourself. Like, you need to be thankful that I'm actually have the privilege to starve myself, or I have the privilege to eat way more food. By choice.
I have it accessible to me.
Yes.
I have the, like, and that's just it too. Like, I have all the resources I need around me, readily available, that I can go grab and get. I have the place and knowledge to cook and make these things that I need to. You know, I have the funds to be able to do this, a job that provides those funds. Like, exactly, like being so happy with even the small things.
Exactly, bro.
You know, like, and a lot of people don't understand that.
And another thing too, I've noticed too with people that were competing at this last like in general, is like people overly complain on social media. Like, it's okay to post how you're feeling, but when you're at a point where you're suffering and you really don't like it, then why are you doing it in the first place? That goes back to, like, are you really doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for others? Because this is one of those things in life where, like, even making money too, like, you got to do it for yourself, for your benefit, because the amount of sacrifice and the amount of time it takes, there's no point on doing it just to look good for Instagram, or just to look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, there needs to be something deeper. You know what I mean? And
on Instagram too, man, no matter what you say, there's going to be controversy or dictation towards what you're saying. You know, like for instance, with that, right? I was seeing, because a lot of people were in prep, and just an influx of, I'm so hungry, you know, and I post my meal of, you know, 5 ounces of chicken and 200 or 150 grams of spinach. Those are my meals.
Yeah.
Where's the rice? Where's the sustenance, right?
Yes.
There isn't. And all I say is, I don't want to hear that you're hungry.
No.
Am I bitching saying I'm hungry and complaining and all that? No, I'm saying you're probably eating 200-300 grams of carbs and complaining. Why?
There's no point.
Also, we're all doing this. What are you complaining about?
Yeah, you signed up and you started this knowing that you're basically, okay, this is gonna sound really messed up, but you're holding a gun to your own head.
Yeah.
It's all like you can pull the plug anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is sound kind of crazy, but like during the prep too, I like to watch like shows of like I Shouldn't Be Alive, just because I want to know that I'm in a really weird position to myself, that those guys that are actually trying to survive or in other countries struggling, they don't have a choice. They can't just be like, okay, I'm done. Let's eat more food.
Yeah, no, they're stuck in it.
They're stuck in it. They don't have a freaking choice.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's the stuff I still watch to this day. Like, I watch that stuff to remind myself how blessed I am, because I don't have to force feed. I don't have to do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I'm willing to and I love doing it makes me happy. And knowing that I don't have to do this, which makes me want to work harder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, man. I just get so into that because it's real.
And you can talk about that, man. And I know, like, you've been in places before where it's like you've had some serious stressful situations happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've definitely encountered a lot of things that make me enjoy the small things.
Yep.
And, like, you know, if I think if you take even like an hour to get to know someone that is, you know, doing this kind of thing, you'll be kind of amazed with like what brought that person to it.
Yes.
Or what keeps them going.
That's why
there's always a cool ass story.
There is every single time. Like, I haven't, with my channel and stuff, I haven't gotten too much about like personal stuff, but I will say, like, I definitely don't come from a background that's perfect, obviously. But I know that some people would use what I've went through as an excuse of why they can't do it. Mm-hmm. Because before all this, when I was like obviously a young teenager, I used to play the victim mentality of like, oh, I can't do this because I have this problem. It's not working. It's not going to work. Yeah. But I've learned to change that to be like, okay, I have all these circumstances, but I'm still going to make it work. Yep. And that's the mindset I have now, and that's the mindset that I want to share with other people.
Good, dude.
Knowing that it's okay to not have the ideal situation, you can still grow. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you know that just as well as I do. You know what I mean? Yep. We both come from different backgrounds, but what I've learned, especially this past year, man, is like it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the perfect scenario.
Not at all. You don't. Not at all. I know we were just talking too about like when you were switching jobs and everything. I'm like, dude, listen, like, you know, I got to talk to someone and like learn this kind of mentality. Of course, I'm still learning. I'm only in my 20s. Right. But that's why I keep telling you, you're in your young 20s, right? I'm still in my late 20s, right? But like, you know, I had that kind of slight epiphany, you know, a little later last year. Oh, okay, 30 is coming up. You know, I feel like by 30, I should have a pretty well-established home. I should have, you know, like a solid, you know, network around me of people. Yeah. You know, my job, everything should be pretty locked in. Right. But using your 20s to really experiment, to make the mistakes, to switch the jobs and careers and all these things, do all that. Because I don't want to be 40 with, you know, a however many $1,000 house, you know, on the line to switch a career. That you know, sense. Or to be in my 40s and have to like completely switch like friend groups or all these things. Like it's time to start building onto that and create the person in my future that I need to have. That makes sense. So, I mean, you know, I feel like that is still very much in the works, but like at least having that recognition and like trying to do something towards that. And that's all that matters is like realizing, you know, we're not where we want to be, but as long as you put in the work, you'll get there at some point. And like putting in the work like 100%. But at least we're not complacent. No. Yeah. And that's another thing too. Like I knock on wood. I'm always not knocking on wood because there's no such thing as luck. Anyway, I've been able to consistently still progress, even though I have had, I don't even want to call it setbacks, but like, you know, relationships and, you know, going through that ups and downs. I still kept one thing consistent, and that's been bodybuilding. And now it's having a job outside of that. And just knowing that, like I said, nothing's perfect. And I think being okay with change, because when you're in something like this, change is going to happen. It's supposed to happen. And the one thing that scares me the most is being in the same place next year, like being, you know, that scares me. And that's what drives me to keep going. I mean, people ask, what's your motivation? I hate the word motivation. It's so temporary. It's shallow. It's not real. Like if you need to watch a video for every single time you're doing something, that's not going to work. I think the number one thing in general in my life is that if I'm not progressing each year and I'm not at least taking a step forward, I'm not doing something right. Yeah. And that's what I've been realizing. Yep. No, I like that. I like that. And that is very real. And like there is a comfort to being able to say, you know, I'm not who I was last year.
Yeah.
And whether that's physically or mentally having some sort of growth.
Right.
You know, I remember not last year, but the year prior, I needed mental growth because I put everything towards bodybuilding that I really let myself go.
That makes sense.
And I spent, you know, almost that full year just really trying to like hone in on myself. Did I grow physically? Not really. I was actually kind of stagnant that year. But boy, did I need that. I grew a lot. It really helped me progress, move forward into being more like where I am now.
Exactly.
So you got to do those things, man. And like motivation, dude. Like, I don't know about you. I may be motivated to go to the gym twice a month.
Right? Yeah. So seriously.
You know, sometimes it takes me 2 hours to go to the gym because I'm just dragging my feet. Okay. All right. And finally, I just have to eat my pre-meal because then once it's down, I have this much time to get there.
Yeah.
Now the clock has been started.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I got to get dressed. I got to grab my bag. Got to fill my water. Got to go.
Yeah.
Gotta go. You know, maybe I sit in my car for 30 minutes, just, God, damn it.
I know, bro.
But I still go.
and that's where when you truly find out how worth it is and how much do you really want it. And how,
those are the best lifts too.
And the times that I don't feel like going is literally the best lifts I've ever had. And even now with this training program I'm in, bro, most of the time I don't really want to do it. But after I go through and I push myself through it, I'm like, I'm thankful that I did it. But another thing that we can touch on too is like setting your days up for success. Like
big time.
Like when I come,
absolutely.
Like when I come home, I'm not gonna lie, I don't go to bed till like 11 p.m. most nights. But I prep my meals for the next day, so all I have to do is I can sleep in, make my breakfast, and get out the door. So I'll literally prep all my meals, put them in the fridge, and like I said, make my breakfast, and then I'm out the door, and it only takes me about an hour in the morning.
Nice.
So like that's something you can do. Like when people make excuses, it's like, well, what can you do in your situation? Some people might need to prep for the full week, but for me to truly stay accountable, I have to do it every single night because it keeps me locked in, it keeps me in a routine, and I'm still getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
See, and so that's good, dude. Like I can definitely agree and attest to that. Zen time, start the clock.
Zen time.
So me, the first, I want to say like 2/3 of prep, you know, I was going to work at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Damn.
You know, going through my shift, getting done at, 4, 5, getting home. I'm not sleeping much, so I'll take a nap. Right when I get home, eat my next meal, take an hour and a half nap, wake up, have my pre-meal, get ready for gym, go, take care of everything that night, go to bed about midnight, wake up at 3, do it again.
Right.
Well, sleep is among the 3 very important things of this.
It is.
I can't do this on 3 hours of sleep anymore.
No.
On our check-ins, how much sleep did you get? What can we do to improve that?
Every time, bro. Every time. Yeah.
So switched out of that. I am a night person. I have always been. I had to make that change.
Yeah.
Switch jobs, something that starts now at 8 o'clock. Right. Now my day's pushed out. I can't have my naps anymore.
No.
But now instead of getting 3 hours of sleep plus 1 and a nap, I'm going to bed now still 12, 1, right? Waking up at 7. I just got 6, 7 hours of sleep now. I'm in the plus, right? I had to go get a sleep study. I have terrible sleep apnea. Got that done. Boy, did that help.
Right. I'm sure it did.
I think everyone that is doing this should go get a sleep study done because I don't know if I can confidently say this, but being into this whole bodybuilding thing, I think you're gonna have it at some point.
I think I need to get one done soon myself.
I think it's weight dependent.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, no, for sure. Even if you're, like I said,
this last 7 weeks, I haven't been using it. I'm not snoring even really, right? Now the first week after being done with prep and everything, I'm starting to snore again. The weight's back on.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm over a certain weight, it starts to happen.
I noticed that too when I started gaining weight myself, even though I'm only at like 223.
Is that the heaviest you've ever been? Gym wise?
No, the heaviest I've ever been was 250.
Oh, right. I remember you showing me that.
But since it's a rebound, I haven't been at this body composition at 220.
That's okay. Yeah.
So, working with Tig after the hiatus, I did go because I did a prep with that one coach and it didn't go very well. And then I remember
seeing those pictures. It was a soft 250.
It was when I was at the peak of that bulk, and then I actually cut down to 198 for that show too. But this time around, everything was like, obviously I followed the plan, but I had the coach that had better guidance.
Well, 198 at this show, I think you were about 195, 198, right?
Yeah, I was 198.
Yeah, so on the dot.
197 on the dot.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
You were miles tighter.
Yes, by a long
incredibly
shot.
different conditioning.
Yes.
You got to put a side by side of that.
Yes.
Bigger.
Yep.
Fuller.
Yep.
Same weight.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts.
And that, but now that
That's
now that I'm growing and doing a proper rebound, it's already scary on how good it's going to be for next year. Like, I don't want to jinx anything, but
yeah. Well, think 230, 235 is coming out for you, right?
Yeah,
that's gonna be 15 pounds off from your absolute biggest.
So
you're probably still gonna have ab definition.
Yeah,
right. Which you've probably never had at 230, 235 before.
Not like what it is now.
Yeah.
And
so
I think realistically, by next show, I should be able to step on stage at like maybe 215. I don't know for sure. It's so hard to say, but we never know till it happens.
I know.
But we're definitely going to be pushing for weight this off season. There's really no limit, but I think 260 might be the magic number.
Yeah.
But we don't know because like the body could go past that because my metabolism is insane. And like I said, we have the proper guidance this time. But I think, how long does a rebound usually last?
I think mine are usually about 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
And then go into like kind of a calm down health phase a little bit. You know, I know immediately after a show, I've gone straight into a health phase before with no rebound. That was like last year.
Okay.
But I think it just kind of goes off your body. If it's running okay, how your blood's coming back, how you're feeling, how you're looking.
Right.
So I think it can really, really depend on just where you are at.
That makes sense. Okay. So like, obviously we can't forecast what's going to happen in the future. But
I know, yeah. I mean, I'd imagine where you're going, you probably have another 4 weeks maybe.
Yeah, probably.
That's up to Ty. I mean,
it is up to Ty, and I mean, I'm definitely like filled out completely. It's like night and day. I've had that on my Instagram. Like, I looked at that, kind of shocked me because I'm like,
dude, you went from like you already had big legs, dude, but like you had like leg gap, and like definition to like fucking trunks. Like, what happened?
I look side by side. I'm like, look at my legs. I'm like,
what? That was everything else too. You're wider. You have way more shoulder cap.
There's just the lats. Just like I looked at that. I'm like, man, because like I'm such in a box routine that I don't really notice. That's when I saw that side by side. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Bro, it's so weird, and like I don't really feel all that different. The biggest, I mean, I feel like I'm a little heavier, but at the end of the day, nothing really physically I felt actually changed. And that's kind of a weird mental thing. That's why, like, when I hear people say like I look bigger, it's like, did I really? But then obviously you can't deny facts that you have.
Right. So there was a moment, and I'll bring up this real quick. And I told you too. Like I was at a point where I was very ran down in my prep. It was hard for me to be there for other people. Where I was barely able to even like get myself moving forward for a little bit there.
Right.
And you were coming to me after the show and everything, like into your rebound, how hungry you were, and that it was almost harder.
Yes.
Right. And it was so hard for me to not tell you that that's perfect.
Really?
Like that's how it's supposed to be. And I think other people can really chime in on that and say that's exactly right.
Okay.
Sure. So it was, I ended up talking to Ty. I was like, hey, will you tell him like I care about him? I just can't.
Yeah, no, you're good, bro.
I can't talk right now.
And no,
check on my boy for me.
And I even said to, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is the best time. I said that going in, and I just had to get it out. But yeah, no, I talked to Ty, and then I listened to other bodybuilding podcasts that were talking about that. Rebound, you're still going to be even more hungry. And a lot of that has to do with body fat levels too, though. Like when I was cutting for the show, I was at 2,500 calories, and people were like, how are you so hungry? And I didn't know how to answer that. Now I know how to answer that. When you're at a certain percent of body fat, you can have 4,000 calories and still feel hungry.
Yeah. I mean, of course, insulin sensitivity and being lower like that is going to be there. There's definitely some things that go into that, but it makes sense. I mean, you were hungry at 4,000. Like
I'm still hungry now.
You're an eater.
I'm at 4,200 calories, and it feels like I'm still.
Yeah. See, I'm opposite. I love being hungry to an extent, of course. Dropping down like sub 2,000 calories for the last 4 or 5 weeks, whatever, was like. That was tough.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It was very tough. It was 21 grams of fats. My mental was not there whatsoever. Like no carbs, through the day. But then I'll like start, adding food again or whatever. I think the tail end of my prep, I think it was like 7,600 calories or so.
Yeah.
And that was like, I'm fighting puking most meals.
Really?
Because I'm just so full. I just like, it's taking me an hour to eat my meal because I'm just so like, God, I'm trying to get this down. it was just so hard. But then I'll see you,
Yeah.
5 minutes, your meal's gone. I'm like, how are you doing that?
At the peak of my bulk too.
Yes.
It's
yeah, I think you were eating about 7,000 also.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with me is I have no issues with bulking. Like maybe when I first started, I did, but like now I can eat. I just eat, and I don't ever get full really. Like
that's cool though.
Even now, like I get my meals down in like 5-10 minutes, and I'm still hungry. I told Ty we're at a point now where my body weight's still growing, so we're gonna wait to increase food.
Right.
But I'm okay with that. I'm very blessed that I have that on my side though, because like getting like bodybuilding is really about how much food can you get down without like feeling like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
I think my body, like talking about open bodybuilding, I think that my body metabolism wise, getting the food down, I think I have no problem with that. So that's another thing too. That's important for people that want to grow. The food is
number one.
Is number one thing. And if you can't tolerate like a high bulk with clean food, then you're gonna have a rough time. There's ways to go around it, but I don't believe in dirty bulking because I just don't like it. It may work for a second.
Well, exactly. That's like it's not sustainable. You're gonna get to a point where it's not working anymore. You're stagnant, or you're just gonna be putting on just more fat.
And it's not conducive.
And then your prep is going to be that much harder. You have to take time off to cut down a little bit just to get back into your bulk, to recomp a little. Or you're going to start your prep way too high fat and a bunch of cardio, way less calories, and it's just going to be that much harder.
Well, and I listened to podcasts with guys like Justin Harris and stuff and like Justin Compton, and they'll say that when they were at the prime of their stuff, they were eating a heavy surplus of clean food. And even what me and Ty talked about, even though I get cheat meals or whatever, I'm still eating clean. I don't want people to think that I'm eating like garbage. I still have my steak. It's either steak, sweet potato, or sushi. Nothing really in between.
Yeah.
And I say that's still good because when we're talking about putting on like good quality mass, it's going to have to come from good quality food.
Right.
And like keeping...
And think about that, dude. This is my mentality on it. Like, you're building yourself out of what you're putting in.
Yes.
Do I want to be built on McDonald's processed BS meat?
No.
No, dude. That's not going to be very quality.
And there's a reason why you can eat 1,500 calories from McDonald's and still feel hungry, because it's pre-digested food, which means it's made to not like if you eat 1,500 calories of whole foods in one setting, you're going to have a hell of a time getting that down.
It's a lot.
It's a lot because it's real whole food. But when you eat McDonald's, you can eat 3,000 calories almost and still feel kind of hungry, which is wild to me. And that's, like I said, it's pre-digested. You got to think about what that's going to do to your heart, your kidneys, all that stuff.
Right.
Obviously, bodybuilding isn't healthy by any means. So if you're adding more fuel to the fire, it's not conducive. And it raises cortisol naturally. And when you have cortisol with this thing, that's not good. And I think that's another important thing. Like a lot of people will come to me at the gym and ask me, how do I put on quality size? And keep in mind, I'm not a mass monster by any means, like what we're trying to get to. But for the average person,
of the bigger in the gym, though.
But me and you are the guys that are one of the bigger guys in the gym from everybody else. And the number one thing that we always talk about is food. Like that is the number one discussion. I think when people ask for advice and you're just starting out, you need to ask what you should be doing for diet and training. And that's it. Period.
Yeah.
Nothing
Not
else.
Spending the money on the supplements and everything if you can't lock in the diet. I had a conversation with one of the guys at the gym. It was a couple weeks ago. And he was just asking, like, I don't know, like, really where to go with this at this point. I've been training for so long and there's just no changes. Yeah. He said, I don't know what direction I want to go. Do I want to cut? Do I want to bulk? How do I do it? I was like, well, I mean, look at yourself and assess and be honest.
Yeah.
And can you follow a diet?
Exactly.
If you just simply can't do it, like, I don't think you should try.
Yeah, adherence to it.
Like you have to, or like, are you gonna stick to it for 2 weeks and then just screw it off again?
And that's another thing too. People,
I don't like wasting my time.
No.
And if I'm not gonna actually sit down and do it, don't do it.
No, 100%. And like I said, people that have known me since I first started, really, especially Flex, when I really started becoming doing this for bodybuilding, people then would still ask me because they noticed I was growing quickly, and I literally say, it's about eating clean food and training hard as you can. And that's carried me, excuse me, that's carried me quite a bit. And I'm going to preach that till the day I die. If your diet, if you can't afford supplements, you will be okay. The most important, because supplements don't really matter.
I've done this about supplements for a good period of time before.
Dude, right now, me and Ty have no supplements. The only supplements I take in the morning is literally a greens blend, digestive for GI, fiber, and like 5 grams of creatine.
Mm.
And I don't have any whey protein. And honestly, I feel the best without whey protein and all that. And just eating an absurd amount of clean food.
Right.
And I think even during this bulk phase, I told Ty, I said, I don't really want all the sweet processed sugary foods post-workout. I would rather do honey, things like honey, like or jams or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that. But I think for me, keeping it clean, you look better and you just feel a little bit better. Because like if you're eating clean food, your training is going to be super good.
Yeah.
So,
I know for me, like I've had to experience on both sides of the spectrum where I got to a point where I couldn't eat anymore. And I'm not someone that says I can't. Right. It was just, every meal I'm throwing up because I'm force feeding. I had to change something. I just wasn't ready or whatever it was. So started swapping out some of the foods for, more dense calorie meals, which means it was not as clean of food.
Right.
Okay, was I adding in McDonald's in my diet? No. Right. But was it, some pasta? Yeah. Was it some mac and cheese sometimes even?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it an extra protein shake here and there and PB&Js throughout the day in between meals? Yeah.
But that's okay, though.
That's not that bad, right? But like I've been there and done that. I've also tried to grow before off just eating whatever the hell I want. Yeah. And nothing happened.
No, exactly.
I just kind of looked like shit and felt like garbage too. Started getting some acne, breathing heavier than normal, sweating more than normal, oily skin. Like it just wasn't great. So I know like coming into that, as much real food as you can get down, the better. Don't be getting all of your protein from protein shakes. My protein is 2 scoops isolate post-workout. That's fine. Right. I think most people do that.
Yeah, they do.
But I'm not having any protein outside of that.
No, exactly. It's
shakes.
Shakes maybe. And like I said, another thing too, it's like, I know personally so far in my journey, I just do a whole lot better on whole foods. Like my physique looks just that much better with whole foods.
What's your like go-to favorites, whether it's prep or bulk? What gets you through and by?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, what foods are your like solid go-tos? You can have them nonstop. You don't get sick of.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are my lifesaver because I do get to a point where rice just becomes like monotonous. So, I used to do pastas. I'm gonna keep it gluten free this year though because my dad has autoimmune disease, so he can't have gluten. And I noticed that I flare up in the sense of more inflammation when I have whole wheat pasta. I love pasta, but my digestion just isn't there, if that makes sense. Like, because I like to optimize things personally. So gluten-free pasta for sure, but sweet potatoes. Like, sweet potatoes and beef was my favorite meal.
Okay.
So, and I do really well on red meats.
What is that thing? I know you posted before. You do something funny with your meals. You add.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Talk about that. Here we go.
So here's the Zach's way of doing it. I take fruit, chicken, and rice. And lately, this is gonna get me. Someone's gonna fucking make fun of me for it. But
people don't understand the fruit.
They don't. I put the fruit and everything, and I even put mustard and cinnamon on it.
Okay.
All together.
You are the cinnamon guy. That's right.
Yeah, I'm the cinnamon motherfucker. Like, obviously, I didn't invent that, but you gotta do what you gotta do to make it taste to get it down. And honestly, like that's the thing too is learning how to cook.
Some people actually I noticed they take cinnamon supplements.
So cinnamon, there's 2 different types of cinnamon. There's the processed kind that's not real cinnamon, which is. So I believe from like Central Asia, there's this bark it's not called cinnamon. It's actual cinnamon bark, but it's called something different. That one is the one that you want if you're going to take a high amount. The ones that are in stores, that's fake cinnamon. And if you take too much of that, technically it's toxic to like your liver. Oh. So you got to be, so whenever you get cinnamon, make sure it's organic and it comes in a plastic bag.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's difference. Now, is it like life-changing difference? I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I can't
probably talking small percents here, but
small percents. But
do those add up?
It does add up.
They do.
But that's something to keep in mind. But cinnamon actually though is a natural antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. So when you take that, it's just better. And that's another thing too is taking spices with purpose. So when you want to make your food taste good, look into the spices you're taking and make sure it's conducive to your goals. Even those small things make a big difference.
Yep.
And I believe in that.
It's funny you've brought up inflammation. You've brought up things like that. I think it's funny how like cortisol as well. What those actually do to the body.
Yes.
Right. When you're cutting and you're trying to get ready to go on stage, do you know what cortisol kind of causes? What that does to you?
Tell me.
It makes you a little bit more watery. Right. Obviously, it doesn't feel good. You're stressed.
No.
Right. You might not fill out properly. Right. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but
yeah, you're good, bro. I can add on.
It does that. Inflammation, funny too. I remember it was like 2-3 years ago. I was a supplement. Actually, my doctor, he was bringing up that he tried before. I think it was called X Factor or something, and it was a purposeful inflammatory.
Oh,
so you would take this, and even on the bottle it says like, do not take for more than like 60 days, once a year, or something. Yeah. I don't even know what it was. I was just like, all right, cool. Went online, ordered it, tried it out. That shit hurt.
Yeah,
it
not
didn't
good.
feel good.
No.
It was like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you do want inflammation for certain parts of what we're doing, but
yeah,
don't be adding in silly things to try to offset one or the other.
One thing that I've noticed with myself is obviously when you train and you're putting stress on your muscles, you're going to be inflamed around the training period. But outside of that, you want to be mindful of having no inflammation. Like obviously in my face is a bit puffier now. That's natural. That's going to happen from the surplus of food. But when I was able to get up to 250, like the first time, the one thing that I kept in mind was digestion and making sure that I'm actually processing the food, because the reason why I get up to the 7,000 to 8,000 calories is because my body literally absorbs and uses it. Like no joke. I don't get when I say I get fat, it's bodybuilding fat.
And you were very active throughout the day.
Yes.
Outside of the gym.
Yes.
Your job was very physically demanding.
It was.
So that's going to be burning you using extra fuel just alone.
But the caveat to that now is I'm in an office setting, which is even better because now, funny enough, my digestion is way better now that I'm not doing that.
That's fun. I remember we actually talked about that. I switched jobs just for bodybuilding a couple times, and I went to a desk job thinking, cool, I'm going to be able to sit, rest, recover for 8-10 hours a day, have that much more energy and recovery and everything. It's going to make my bodybuilding so much better. I don't think I grew at all. I think I was so stagnant from that. And there was another guy that I know around here that he kind of did the same approach. And he switched to a moving job, became more active, and started blowing up.
Yes.
And I talked to his coach about it a little bit, not directly, but it was just kind of like I was bringing up what I was doing. And he goes, hey, this happened to this guy.
Yeah.
You might just need to be, more active. My whole life I've been turning wrenches. I've been a very active kid and stuff like that. I wasn't really sure I played some video games, but I wasn't by any means a homebody really.
Right.
So I thrive being constantly on my feet, active, doing things, whether I'm, helping someone do something, whatever, going around, walking around, working on cars, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden my body takes off. This whole prep, I didn't rest. I didn't take time off work really with all that kind of stuff. I was very, all right, go work, go gym, go cardio, go do this, go do this. And it was like, everything was just so perfect, so in line.
I think it's
cool if that works for you. I wish I could.
So I think another thing too, it depends on the person doing it. I think especially for a prep setting, maybe office is still good for everybody because there's less stress and cortisol. I don't know for a fact.
I never got to try it in the prep, so I don't know.
All I know is that with me, I still get 11,000 steps in an office. So because I have a routine where I don't just sit all day. I literally go up, make my rounds. Obviously, I work in the bedding industry, so it's just a big room full of beds, but I still keep myself busy by rearranging things. Most importantly though, I still after each meal, I'll go for I'll just walk around, put it in a podcast and just walk around the store, keep myself busy mentally too. But everybody's genetics body is different.
Genetics.
That's a touchy subject. I don't no one likes talking about it, but that's another factor too with this thing is, genetics is real, but that doesn't mean you can't work hard. Obviously, it's kind of a weird subject because
it is, yeah.
I don't like talking about it because I don't want it to be like an ego conversation for anything.
It can come off very egotistical. And
can.
I know you and I both have our own thoughts on it and things that we have genetically or don't.
Yep.
And that can come off a certain way. But
yeah,
I mean, I will just chip in and add that that is not the end all be all.
No.
I think you can outwork and outtrain certain genetically gifted individuals.
You can.
It really just comes down to what you're willing to do.
And that's the thing too, is like, I don't really know like what good genetics really is, because within the bodybuilding industry, there have been guys that won certain titles and they shouldn't have ever even come close. And you see that a lot. You see guys that beat real talent and they outworked them and still beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an important thing to say. Like,
well, that right there though too, because this entire sport is completely subjective.
It is, and I think obviously even the people that still beat the guys, they still had genetics.
Mm-hmm.
That's why genetics is so hard. I don't want to touch on it too much because I don't.
You're good.
I'm not experienced with this. I don't know for sure.
Mm.
Especially in my journey, I'm basically just starting in a sense.
You're fine.
I don't really know how I feel about that conversation, because I feel like a lot of people, some people will still come up to me like, bro, do I have genetics for this and that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, all I do, I say this to them, I'm like, I don't even know where my genetics are. I don't want to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be that guy that puts in 110%, puts all my effort into it. And the results I get is could it be from genetics? Maybe, but I want to know for sure that I still put in the work, because I don't want to be that guy that's like thinks that I'm getting by genetics. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, no, entirely. And I think it's good that you word it that way too, because you can see like even side by side pictures of, say, there's one out there of Nick Walker,
yes,
right, where it was one of his first shows he ever did. He's young. I mean, I think he's actually 27.
Yeah, he's 27.
He's pretty young. But it was one of his first shows he did. I don't know. He must have been 18 or 20, maybe something like that.
Yep.
You know, great looking body. You know, but nothing at all like you see now before you. How can you look at that then and go, yeah, you got the genetics for it? You know, maybe some people can. I don't know, but I can't look at that and go, yeah, that dude for sure is going to be on the Olympia stage one day.
And that's a good indication of you don't know, because Nick Walker it takes 10 years to really like.
We've talked about that. I think it takes 10 years to see if you're
10
doing
years
with this.
And like, that's why I say I've been training for 5, but I've only been competing for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So technically I still have so many more years to go competing.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, is I think there's a movement right now I've noticed, and I listen to this from podcasts. By the way, anything I talk about is obviously experience and stuff and what I witnessed. But the guys that have done, like guys like Nick Walker, Nick Walker competed like once a year, believe it or not. He competed once a year, and that's how he grew the most. There's guys.
There's a post I saw about that, actually. I can't remember who it was. It might have even, don't quote me. It could have been John Jewett. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think it might have been. And they talked about that, how annual competitions actually can yield the most results because you have those ebb and flows.
So if there's only 10 years of competing, that means you have 10 shows to do technically. Because Nick Walker would compete, like Justin Compton, when he was a young teenager, he competed like 8 times before he got his pro card. Now there's guys like Justin Shire that only did 3 shows and did what he did, but that's not common. I think some guys have that expectation of,
maybe that's where you see genetics.
That right there could be genetics. Very well could be. But I think for most people, from what, like I said, from personal experience, is that you do need to compete for the experience, because some guys, I think they think that they can just build their physique and get big. You can get big, but then there's not much maturity there because you didn't go through the whole process, and then you stand up on stage and then you end up looking like a baby compared to other guys.
And that is another like hard topic, I suppose, like muscle maturity.
Yes.
I was trying to explain that to someone the other day, and like even found myself a little lost even trying to explain it. And I was like, I actually don't understand this how I thought it. That's just another really weird one.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess like I'll try to look at, say, like Urs or something who's like 23 or whatever, and then like try to like see the maturity differences between him and, say, like Chris Bumstead or whatever, because you can see them next to each other, so like you can see the difference in like hardness and separations and everything. But yeah, man, I think that goes a lot deeper than just surface level.
But you gotta think Urs has been competing though since he was a young teen.
Fair.
So the young bucks that are in their 20s that I've even compared myself to, I had to drop my ego and be like, look, they started competing when they were 14, bro. So they are already, so guys that are in their 20s getting their pro cards, that's why another thing that I hear in the gym all the time is, well, if he got his pro card at 21, why can't I? And I'm like, bro, those guys have been competing since they were like 13.
And think about it, going through puberty with those adaptations.
But check this out. So
insane.
When you're 23 and you started at 13, they already hit their 10 years.
That too.
That's the thing that I've been noticing. And that's another thing I've been noticing too, is like, I'm a very analytical guy. I love going into the nuances of things. It's not as perfect as what we think it is. Like, technically, if we want to get that dialed in, I'm late starting into this myself, technically speaking. Yeah. In technical terms. Now, like I said, who knows what I can do within the next few years? Who knows? Like, we don't know for sure. And that's why we've had a conversation with you. Like, you're still at the age though where like you still got time. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I liked Phil's podcast, because he's someone like, I look up to a little bit, and I say look up to lightly because like ultimately I look up to myself and like being that person that I never had like in my life, whatever. But like it is cool to have people to look to for certain like advice or whatever you want to call it. But like he started late around my age, and he is who he is. Yeah. Right. So it's like, I mean, I hate to play the whole age is just a number type thing, but it kind of is a little bit. He started later and still got to take it somewhere pretty far.
And it's like I said, it's about what can you do with the circumstances that you have. Like we're obviously like, some people have had the best circumstances, but that shouldn't be an indicator of if you should do it or not. Yeah. So there's never.
Well, that's it. It's like, I want to do it. Yeah. Here I am.
Well, another thing too that like, even though some people ask me, it's like, well, how long do you think it's going to take? And I'm like, if you're already asking that question, then maybe you shouldn't be doing this, because if you say that you love doing it, then it shouldn't matter how long it really takes to get there, right? It really shouldn't.
And think of this too is like what effect social media has on this now. Yeah. These guys that like we're even talking about, we're doing this when there really wasn't social media, or maybe just the start of it. Yeah. You didn't see the people we see every day on our screen. No. We'll see people putting up 800 pounds here and there for this press, that press, whatever. Yeah. Think if we had none of that, we would see only what we see now.
Here, yes. Or in the magazines.
And and to us, we would think like, wow, like we're doing this thing. Cool. Yeah. But then how easy is it to see what's on our phone and think, damn, I'm nothing.
And that's a good point. Yeah.
So I think social media is so detrimental. I think it is a tool. I think it needs to be used correctly. Yes. And if you're just sitting there using it for scrolling purposes, you're using it wrong. You are then just the consumer. You are the targeted audience of what the whole point of that should actually be.
Exactly. And that's why I'm even like now the goal is to use social media to help people. And because honestly, it is a distraction. Like I don't envy, but like I have that feeling of like, man, like what if we were in like the 90s and early 2000s doing this right now? Yeah. Like how kind of different, because like when I hear podcasts about it, they didn't really think they weren't very like, they weren't hard on them. They didn't really compare themselves much, really. Yeah. They didn't have much to compare to besides the guy in the gym. Because you look at the magazines, those guys are already established. But now you can go on Instagram and see thousands of bodybuilders. So maybe back then they had more of like, maybe I can actually do this. And then now, even I found myself doing this where I see a bunch of guys around my age that look better. And then I'm like getting my head. But then I'm like, that's where the mental side comes in, where like that doesn't matter. But it is a distraction. And that's something that, I mean, nowadays we have to like be very careful with that.
Yeah. And I think too, like they don't, I can't remember like how or who posted it, but how they give out way more pro cards now than they used to. It's a lot easier to achieve that now. It means less.
It's because society now though is about money. It's about money. Like, I mean, I guess money's always been a thing, but like when you have thousands of people competing, they realize how much money they make, and when they hand out more treats, people will end up paying just to get that treat. And so that comes to another thing too. It's like my mindset with wanting to become a pro is like, I don't want to take the easy route. Like if I have to, I'd rather take extra few years just so I can be good. Because now people can become pro, But how many people that we've seen, they get the pro cards and you never hear from them again?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then they got it.
They just go in this for the pro card, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a great goal to have. But what after?
And that's why I've talked about it with you. I have certain goals past that. I don't want to like, you know, shout. And that's internal
that's
stuff.
for you.
But I will say that like that's the reason why I'm looking at my amateur phase right now of like I don't really care how I place. Like it's cool to be able to like get that trophy and stuff, I think, but ultimately it comes down to I want to be at a certain level and be the best I can. So like I said, if I have to take losses a bit longer, I totally will, because my mindset is I'm trying to improve right now, and winning shows will not do anything. And if I do win an overall, I'm not ready to go to nationals. So what's that going to do for me?
Right.
Like, really, what's that going to do for me?
Yeah, because if you got like, you know, the overall this last show, like you wouldn't go to nationals.
I mean, I could, but it's not going to do anything.
Right.
Because the guys that I'm trying to compete against, they're just nuts. Like, for instance, my first show I did, I saw Justin Shire in person, like right before, that was around the time right when he turned pro. Or like that was a little bit before he turned pro, and I was like, holy crap.
At the show, right?
Yeah, at my show, and he's prepping his wife. I looked at him and I was like, holy crap. And then I think I was talking to Jerry too about that, and he was like, yeah, but imagine the guys that are at the very top. And it just blew my mind. That's another thing too, is I've had a realization of like, this is nuts. Like how big and how long it really takes. It's an eye opener, because when you see, like, I want to go to Mr. Olympia either next year or the year after, just to kind of see and give myself like kind of a more realization of like what it really looks like.
Yeah, and it feels good seeing that too, though, because I think you do sometimes get in a lull of like only seeing yourself, and maybe that can kind of start to feel like it's not enough.
Yeah,
like I really liked like growing like to the point that I am now, where I would always see someone just like, dang, like, how. Right. You know, and it felt good because it was like, well, that's there. Like, that's achievable. Yeah. Like, it has to be. Someone can do it. Like, yes. If someone can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
And that was kind of like a help, I guess, that I had. And like, in a good way, though. It wasn't ever like toxic or anything. It was just like, okay, that's motivation.
It is.
You know? But being able to see those crazy bodies, or like at that place that you want to be.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have so much to go.
I know, but
it's a good feeling.
But knowing that it's a possibility makes it like, it enlightens you. But that's one thing about bodybuilding that I'm really loving, is like how insane it is, and like how like much work really goes into it. Because like, I mean, I've been eating my meals and stuff consistently for a while, but like, knowing that this is something you have to do every single day for a decade or decades, it's nuts that like I don't think bodybuilders get as much credit as they should, because I think people like look at those guys and like, oh, they're kind of mid, but they don't take a second to realize how much effort goes into that.
Yeah,
like it's just insane, bro.
Oh yeah,
bodybuilding's crazy.
It's a lot. It is a lot. What do you think? What time are we at?
We're at almost like 2 hours.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Probably call it.
Huh?
Is that good?
That's perfect. I don't care how long it goes.
Oh, okay. Right on.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. Yeah. Okay. I know. I mean, God, dude, we could talk about
this for days, much. Man.
It's us hanging out is hours and hours of just life, bodybuilding. I mean, everything.
These are the real conversations we have. We're just capturing it.
Like, exactly. Yeah.
It's nuts.
No, it's been fun. It has been fun.
I think it's a good point to wrap up.
Yep.
But, bro, like, I mean, I'm excited for the future. I don't know what holds for this thing that we're doing, but I want to take a second to kind of say, like, no matter where you guys are at in your life, whether it's bodybuilding, physique, or whatever, don't half-ass it and put in your all effort, and just enjoy the process. I think that's what you can say too.
Yeah. I think, and if it's one thing I want to say too, is I think earlier I just like spaced it, but summer's here, people are just starting or maybe getting back into it.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating going into the gym. I know when I first started it was.
Exactly.
Just remember, we're not judging. We're not looking. We're not seeing what you're doing wrong and all this. We want to help. We love the questions. Exactly. I know we talked about, don't talk to me while I'm lifting.
Yes.
It's more behind that. If you need help, you want, questions answered or want, whatever, most people are there for you.
Exactly.
And I know you and I are very, like that. We want to help. 100%. So like if there's anything anyone can get from this is, listening to the things that we talk about, knowing like, hey, like we're just here just trying to do this thing too.
Yeah.
And, you know, if there's, you know, if we can help, we want to help.
Yep.
Because we're also going out to people trying to get help too.
Exactly.
So
it's all full circle. And like I said, I know not everybody's trying to be a bodybuilder. So just like, if you guys genuinely want help, ask. Obviously there's times and places, but guys like me and Logan really do want to see the best from other people. And Instagram messages are pretty much always open. Now I don't know how fast we'll respond, but if you're trying to maximize results and you're looking for real help, there's people that will actually help you. So
yep, don't be afraid to ask. The dumb question is the one not.
No,
asked.
like ask. If you think it's dumb, ask anyway. The dumbest question is the question that wasn't asked. So, but yeah, thank you, Logan, for coming today.
It's fun.
This was a blast. Definitely way longer than I thought, but
that's fine.
It's perfect. You guys have a blessed day. Keep kicking ass. And until next time.
Yep.
Let's go. Fuck yeah, bro. That was fun.
That's fun. I like that.
Yeah.
I think first 10 minutes is kind of like,